everyone, Val here, and I am going to be doing a recipe this morning. Welcome to my kitchen. I'm going to be using the family cookbook, the cookbook that I put together for my family years ago when we collected Mom's recipes, and then each of my siblings chipped in some of their favorite recipes. And the recipe that I'm using this morning is actually one of Steve's mom's recipes, and it's something that Steve likes. I've done the recipe before, it turned out good, so I'm going to be having my neighbor over, and we're going to have coffee in the morning, so I thought I would make a special little treat. I'm going to do sticky buns. So this is something that Steve's going to like, and I'm hoping my neighbor's going to like it. And I think the grandkids may be coming this weekend also, for at least a day, maybe stay overnight, I'm not sure. But anyway, they might like it too. So I'm going to make a batch of sticky buns. The ingredients I'm going to be working with to start, it's 1 package of dry active yeast, 1 cup of warm water, a 1/4 cup of sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of margarine, softened, gotta be softened, 1 egg, and 3 1/4 to 3 1/2 cups of flour, and I've sifted my flour. So my flour is ready to go. So I'm gonna face you guys down to my countertop here, and we're gonna get started with these first steps. So we're gonna start by taking the package of the dry yeast and pouring it into the bowl, and then I'm gonna add my cup of warm water, and I'm gonna mix this up. I want to get the yeast to dissolve, and then it should kind of take on a milky look. Just want to make sure it's stirred up really well. Oops, a little splash. Okay. I'm going to set that aside right here for just a minute. I've got my, it's between 3 1/4 and 3 1/2 cups of flour, and I did sift this. So I'm going to add all of the other ingredients to it. I'm going to add the sugar and the salt and the egg and my butter. And we're going to mix this up. Start mixing this up. Make sure there's no lumps. I just found a little lump in there, but I'm going to go ahead and add my yeast mixture to there. And we're going to mix this. My hands are clean, just washed my hands up good, and I'm gonna knead this dough. Once the dough is kneaded real well, and this is mixed up real well, I'm going to put it in this bowl, You can put a little bit of oil if you want on the bottom of the bowl so it doesn't stick. I'm gonna go ahead and get my vegetable oil. Just oil the bowl up just a little bit. Actually, I think I'm just gonna spray the bowl, make it a lot easier. And then I'm gonna just set the dough into the bowl so that it'll rise. I usually will put a towel over it. And I'm gonna time it about 20 minutes to let it rise really good. And in the meantime, we're gonna start our second step. So in my next step, I'm going to need a 1/3 cup of margarine, which is in this bowl here, and I'm going to go ahead and put it in this pan. And because it has to be melted, so I'm going to go ahead and turn on my burner and start melting my margarine. Then I'm going to be adding to it, once it gets melted, a cup of packed brown sugar. And I'm also adding a tablespoon of corn syrup along with 2 tablespoons of water. And I've mixed it in here so that the corn syrup didn't get stuck onto the container there. I'm going to get my pan ready, and I'm going to be using a rectangular pan. And I'm just going to spray it lightly with the non-cooking, or the cooking spray, just so there isn't as much sticking. So I went ahead and I have my pan ready. That's going to be over here. So I'm going to go ahead and get my margarine melted. As soon as this is melted, I will be back and we're going to do the next step. My butter is fairly melted in the pan here. There's a couple little specks, but that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and add the brown sugar and the syrup and the water. And we're going to bring this on a low heat. I'm probably on a medium-low right now. I'm going to bring this up to a boil. And once it gets to a boil, I'm going to boil it for 30 seconds. Okay, my sugar mixture's come to a boil, so I'm going to boil it for about 30 seconds. Make sure you stir it so it doesn't stick. Okay, so that's been about 30 seconds. I'm going to turn the heat off on this. Then I'm going to take my mixture and pour it evenly into my pan. And this will be the base for our sticky buns. I'm just going to make sure it's spread fairly evenly on there. I'm going to make a mixture of cinnamon and sugar, and I'm using this organic Ceylon, S-E-Y-L-O-N cinnamon powder. I did about an 1/8 cup of sugar in there. I'm going to add about a 1/4 cup of the cinnamon powder to it. And I'm going to mix it up, and I'm going to make a cinnamon sugar mixture. If you want to add a little more sugar, that's fine. I don't want all that sugar. I mean, this is already, you can put a sugar substitute if you want to. This is a lot of sugar in here, but I want more cinnamon than sugar on this part. So I have my mixture made up. I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to start rolling out my dough. The recipe just calls for a cinnamon sugar mixture. It doesn't say what the percentage mixture is. I think a 1/4 cup of cinnamon and an 1/8 cup of sugar is fine for me. So our dough looks like this now. It has risen some. Let me turn you guys back down here because we're going to be rolling the dough out now. So I'm going to put the dough onto my rolling sheet here. Let me add just a little bit of flour on there. We're going to kind of roll it square. If we can get it as square as we can possibly get it, that would be the best. All right, so I'm going to kind of try to square it off a little bit. Which I think will work fine. Just kind of try to get it as even as you can as far as thickness goes, but squared up pretty good. So now that we've got our dough rolled out, we're going to take our margarine and just cover the dough with margarine. Just kind of butter the dough. That helps the cinnamon sugar mixture, is going to help it stick to it. So I'm going to take the cinnamon and sugar mixture and just put a really good layer of it on top, spread around on top. And make sure everything gets covered. I may have made too much, but that's all right. I'll just put it in something and save it for another time. I always use it for something else. I'm going to try to spread it around a little bit here. I think more is better, right? I think this will be good. All right, so now what we're going to do is roll this up. Hope that it's even. Seems to be pretty even. The edges, of course, they may be a little bit thinner, but that's okay. Just kind of pat the edges in a little bit so make them more evened out here. Alright, so I'm going to grab a knife here and I'm going to make some cinnamon buns that are going to look like that. And I'm going to lay them into my tin here. So I guess these are about 1.5 inches thick. They all should try to be about the same thickness, so they'll cook all about the same. Okay, now that these are made, I'm going to set these aside. I'm going to set them actually over on top of the stove where it's warmer. And we're going to allow them to rise about 20 minutes or so. So I'm going to set them over there. I'm going to set a 20-minute timer, and then we'll come back and see how they look. The buns are ready to go into the oven. I've actually let these rise for about an hour because the 20 minutes it called for, they really didn't rise much at all. So I just let them continue to rise. It's been an hour. I'm going to stick them in the oven at 375, and I'm going to time them for 25 minutes and then come and check them. If I think they need to go 5 minutes more at that time, I'll put them in for another 5 minutes. I'll let you know how long it takes. Let's stick them in the oven. My oven is preheated at 375, and I'm gonna put my timer on for 25 minutes. It's been 25 minutes. Let's check on the cinnamon rolls, sticky buns, and see how they look. And they look done to me. They look done. All right, so we're gonna call that a wrap. What do y'all think? They look pretty? Let me cut my oven off. And it's saying while they're hot to flip them over onto a cookie sheet. So what I'm gonna do is, I actually have another pan exactly like this pan. Both of these pans have lids. So I'm gonna actually just flip that over into this pan so I can cover it. That's what I'm gonna do. So let me get ready to do that. It says to do it while it's hot. I guess the juices that are in there have to come over onto the rolls. Alright, so let me hope that this works. I'm gonna try to match these up. Hope I don't make a mess. I'm just gonna flip it over. Hope that it came out. Yes, it did. Oops, one stuck. That's alright. Going to stick it back in there. And we're gonna let these cool. So I'm gonna stick these over on my chopping board over here to cool. While they're cooling, I'm going to take some powdered sugar. I'm going to add a little milk to it, make a little glaze. Want it a little bit thicker. I think that's probably good. I'm just gonna drizzle this over the top. Alright, and there you go. Picture perfect. I hope that they like it. I want to thank everybody for watching and hanging out with me while I make some sticky buns for tomorrow morning. And hopefully Steve will get to eat some tonight also. Thanks for hanging out. Give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not subscribed and you want to. And remember, it's all about the adventure. And there's always an adventure in baking and cooking. So try something new. Catch you on tomorrow's video. Bye now.